Hey everyone, Jim T. Graham with RCGroups.com. We've got Jason Cole with us and a very special guest, Trent, who's not only a special guest, y'all, he's actually sitting at Joe Nall as it's going on. What's happening, Trent?
Hey, Jim, good to see both of you guys. Yeah, we are down here at Triple Tree and just having a good time getting things ready for everybody next week and looking for folks to start arriving. We've got some folks here already sitting in line to get in. So
wow.
Officially open the gates tomorrow at 5 o'clock. So it'll be a mad rush when they open those gates, I'm sure.
So last year, do you have any, I should have asked you this when we spoke this morning, any numbers on how many people you had come in the gates last year? My mind says 13,000.
It was actually a little more than that. It was right around a little more than 13,000 spectator that came through. And then, pilot count, we were, I think it was 18, pushing 1,900 total between all the different flight lines.
Right.
So hopefully we'll be on track for a very similar number this year. And based on pre-registration packages, which this group's been putting together, it looks like that's exactly where they're at. So looks like another really good year for Joe Nall, 2018.
Now, I want everyone to know, Jason and I have been going to Joe Nall for probably over 10 years now. It's a Joe Nall miracle that Trent is even broadcasting off the grounds. And in the old days, that wasn't even possible.
That's right.
Exactly right. It wasn't.
And so
we've came a long way, I guess.
When you drive up the road, when you first get in there, there's the place where you got to pull over and get your packet and make sure you're legal. And that's where you're sitting right now at the top of the hill, right?
I'm actually not at the top of the hill. I'm down more where the hangar area is at.
Yeah.
And you might remember a new center they built last couple of years ago called the Bob Shaw Learning Center, where they had the flight simulators.
This is where I wrote some articles in there last year on the Wi-Fi. We pushed content out for Joe Nall.
That's a good place to do that. There's a pretty good Wi-Fi in here. And there's a little office, so they had some laptops. So this was about the only choice. There's not a good Wi-Fi signal as good up at the Welcome Center where you're speaking of, Jim.
There is or is not, because, well, let me say this. If you're using your phone, which I tend to do sometimes, and you're looking for the very best spot, you can sit under the trees right there at the welcome area as you roll in.
That's an option. And then this year you may want to try coming over to the Learning Center because they have a good signal here as well. So one of those two spots will probably be your best option.
Well, as you know, we always show up and we have the golf carts out. This year we have a very special guest, Mike Hines, who you may or may not know of. Mike worked with Jason and I both at Hobby Lobby. A lot of the airplanes that you see in the air these days were kind of brought to America by Mike. And so he and his wife, Hertha, will be joining us. And then, Jason, is Nick going to be on the ground?
Nick's going to be on the ground in Germany.
Okay. He asked me when we were going, and I was like, was he going to be there? Because I thought he wasn't.
No, yeah, he's missing it this year.
So I got to ask him my first big question, Trent.
Sure.
The brand new, hugely expanded, Triple Tree luxurious women's bathhouse. Now, I like women, and I think they need a place to take a bath. But is this for women only?
It sure is. The new bathhouse is going to be for women only. But that also then helps the men's side out because the old bathhouse at the 3D line is going to be all men. So
cool.
They'll have an expanded bathhouse as well. So both sides down there will become a men's bathhouse, and the new bathhouse will be for the women.
So we're looking at construction right now. I'm sure that this is done at this point, right?
Oh, there's still some work going on down there, quite a bit. The kind of the tradition is it seems like this group is always doing that stuff right before the gates open. So there's a group down there now still painting and finishing up. And if everything goes well, it'll be finished when they open the gates tomorrow at 5.
So this enclosed area right here, this is the air-conditioned kind of lounge area, right?
Yeah, the one side of the building that they're referring to as a pilot's lounge. So and it's air-conditioned, a real nice interior area there. So it'll be, I'm sure, well received and a good hangout for a lot of flyers and spectators.
Is there actually Wi-Fi? Have you actually received some Wi-Fi in that area?
Not down there that I'm aware of. No, it's still not a good Wi-Fi down at that area. That would be something that would be a nice thing to have, and maybe in the future that'll be the case, but not available at current.
You'd almost have to get a repeater going to.
Yeah, it's so far down, and that's a lower area, and it just seems like it's even hard to get a phone signal down there sometimes. So
it's hard to get a trailer down there on occasion.
It is, yes.
So tell me about this lot.
It's a real nice building, and as you can see from those photographs there that you've showing there, so it kind of goes with the tradition of all the other buildings, has that same look. So got a nice searchlight or spotlight up on top that's going to be working. So I think folks are really going to like the new building.
Is that for night flying, for planes that don't have lights on them? They can spot them.
Get a lot of use for that, yes.
Do we know where that light came from?
I don't know where it came from, but that's a good question. I wished I had an answer for you. I know it was one of the lights from an old airport, like the tower came from, and the other searchlight that they have up at the main hangar. It's an antique type of light.
And then we can talk about Ace here at the end. So I'm gonna turn this off here. So what we have some news that we can also talk about here in a little bit that has really been released yet. But what about Nall in general? What would you say to someone who was getting ready to pack their car up and head on down?
Oh, I tell you, it's a great event, and if you've been here before, you know what to expect. But if you're a newcomer, you're really in for a good treat. You definitely want to bring some good walking shoes because I think from front gate to the 3D Inn is over a mile, probably a mile and a half. So be prepared for a lot of walking, and definitely bring sunscreen because South Carolina sun can be pretty bad if you're not used to it.
Now we've done multiple special broadcasts on it's like the Joe Nall preparedness broadcast. And so we talk about, I would say not only a pair of shoes, I think you definitely need, I bring galoshes in case it rains.
That's a good thing to do.
I always have at least 2 cowboy hats because I had a fear for a long time I might have my hat blow off into a river or something. So now I bring 2 hats. You can't not have a hat at an event like this without risking some cancer on your face.
That's right. Hat, sunglasses, sunscreen, all those are good things to have when you're at the Joe Nall.
If you don't have a golf cart, I wouldn't think it's not a bad idea to go somewhere and get you some mode of electric or gas transportation. Yeah. Jason, you've ridden about everything at Joe Nall, right?
We have, yeah. It's always fun to see the array of vehicles like Mad Max or something at Joe Nall. But yeah, I think I'm bringing my little Segway Mini Pro again this year. It was super handy because we have the golf carts, and so it fits right in the golf cart next to me. Drive it around to the flight line, which is packed, right? You can't take your golf cart up to the flight line. So it's like you kind of go park in the different areas of the flight lines and then hop out on the Segway, and then you can go exploring and get around a little faster and easier. Helps for all day.
Trent, can you talk about, are there any golf carts left for rent?
The last I heard, there was no golf carts left for rent, but they do have a waiting list because, occasionally they'll have somebody drop off of that list. But they got a large number of golf carts, but they have already been rented. But like Jason said, any mode of transportation, even a bicycle is good to have. If you got a bicycle, you can get in your trailer or car or truck and bring a bicycle. You see a lot of guys and ladies pedaling bikes. And then, Triple Tree does have a transportation system. So the group here has been getting the buses ready. I know they've been washed and serviced and cleaned. So they got a full bus scheduled. I think it starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and goes up until, probably around dark. I think it stops. But so a lot of opportunities to catch a bus to go from end to end. So there's a lot of good ways to get around.
And there is a new rule this year, right? No like go-karts, right?
Yeah, they did put a new rule in place about the real low go-karts, and these are not the 4-wheeler ATV types, but the traditional go-karts. And the reason they did that was for safety reasons. They've had a couple accidents with those real low type go-karts, so they put on the website this year those would not be allowed.
Yeah. Jason and I were there for that event when that boy slid himself under that pickup truck.
Yeah, that's a dangerous thing, and you don't want to see that happen. And there's a lot of traffic, so those low go-karts, we're getting to be a little bit of a hazard. So the group decided to not let those be allowed anymore.
One of my great memories was it had rained, and it was not raining anymore, but it was muddy and dusty. And I saw a herd of Barbie cars. It was like go-karts with Barbie Corvette tops with men sort of wedged in there with their heads poked out the sunroof, and then their golf carts, and then there were razors, and dust was flying, and we were all driving around. And Jason, that's when I said, I feel like I'm at Thunderdome here, man. It was crazy.
You do see quite some creative transportation, and I think that's just the modeler in coming out in people. They find a way to get from point A to point B in a lot of creative ways.
And while we're on it, because I'll tend to have a great idea and then move on and never think of it again. They're always looking for volunteers to drive the buses and be at the gates and all that. Where would they go if somebody wanted to volunteer a little time?
We do have a need always for volunteers, bus drivers, the front gate. There's just a lot of things people can volunteer for. And so we have a gentleman that can help out with that, Jack Spriggs. Jack handles our volunteers, and if somebody will just go up to the welcome center and ask to speak to Jack, if there's a need, he'll find you something to do. And if not, what he's doing is making a list of people and phone numbers. So if there is a need later on, maybe for one of the meals they need some tables set up, that's something that if people have some time and want to volunteer, we'd more than welcome that.
And I want to say, I should have said this at the top. Actually, there are people from our field, Jason, I saw it in the newsletter, that are headed down to Joe Nall. And whenever people start talking about what should I do this year, I don't know what to do. I always say, have you gone to Joe Nall? And if they say no, I tell them to stop. And if they only do one thing this year, go to Joe Nall. It will be beyond any of your expectations. So if you happen to watch this and you're thinking, I've got some free time next week, maybe I should go. All three of us will tell you it's not an option. You have to go. You owe it to yourself.
You really do. You owe it to yourself to come and experience the Joe Nall if you haven't been or haven't been in a while and want to come back. There's a lot of new stuff here, and the grounds are beautiful. The grass is green, so we'd love to have you come down.
And
I've only missed one Joe Nall in the last 18 years, and that is due to it being our 16th wedding anniversary on May 18th. So the only time I missed Joe Nall since I got in the hobby was on our wedding. Okay. And I've been there for our anniversary ever since. So it's kind of funny how it works out. But my wife is not thrilled.
When I started going, it was just the main line. And then you had folks flying in the water. Then you had the 3D line, which got super.
Yeah, and you had to hike half a mile from the main line to get to the lake to dunk the tail.
Right. And now the 3D line has its own lake and gazebo.
Yeah, it does.
And then if we got to talk about the real grower there, it's the electric line, which last year seemed to be the biggest line on the side. Am I wrong?
It actually, by registration and attendance, was the second largest line. The main line is still the largest, but followed closely by the electric line. And you're right, that has become a very popular place. And those electric gentlemen and ladies both really do a lot of flights there. I would almost venture to say there's probably as many flights or more off of that line than any here. But registration-wise, they are second. So a lot of interest in the electric line.
Now, this year, I'll make this announcement right now. We only have Flying Giant shirts. In years past, we've done RCGroups and Flying Giants, a little of this, a little of that. We didn't have enough here. We didn't have enough there. So we opted to do a really killer. I'm very proud of the design I did this year for Flying Giants. Had a user write and say, I love this shirt from 2015. And I went and found it in photos. And then I did my recreation version of it. So we'll be on the 3D line on Thursday at 11 sharp. And so, and say that, I had a guy say, okay, I want to buy two. You cannot buy two. You have to get in line. And Jason, should we say how much we spent in t-shirts this year?
I don't know. I mean, a lot.
$3,000 in shirts we're bringing down to give away. And so thank you to Vertical Scope for letting us do it again this year. And also we have a sponsor this year that's helping us out with our event coverage. Let's talk about that after we talk about this. And so the AMA, the most appropriate sponsor, I think, to help out, also has their name on the t-shirt. But join us on the 3D line 11 in the morning and be prepared to be in a line. And if I did it right, I'll have a shirt for everybody.
Very good. I know that's well appreciated.
It is, and it's expected. And so I'll be doing a story. Probably it'll go out tomorrow, and we'll put it on FG and let everybody know that it's happening and all that good stuff. So Trent, I know you know, but I'm gonna always treat videos like people have no idea what we're talking about. Okay. The RCGroups Flying Giants crew has been attending Joe Nall. We attended Joe Nall before Flying Giants was even owned by us. Mm-hmm. Every year I've been since my daughter is 17 now. So I guess about 17 years. Jason, have we been going the same amount of time?
We probably have. Yeah.
Okay. So 18 years, and I haven't missed a year, and I did miss my wife's birthday every year for the last 17 years. So I'll pay for that, I'm sure. But when we go down there, as soon as we hit the deck, we're taking photos, writing stories, shaking hands, kissing babies. And I have had people say, aren't you going to volunteer and work the gate? Our job is not working gates or driving buses. Our job is to drive around and cover this show as much as we can for everyone. I always say, if you were there, you can go back and look at your memories. And if you weren't there, you can see what you missed.
Yeah, very good.
Jason, any thoughts on that? What do you?
I kind of want to put you guys on the spot for a minute here, and just for people that haven't been, because last year I went around and I did a specific video series of first timers at Joe Nall, and we got their impressions and what they thought of the event after being there. I was blown away by how many first timers there were, and it's going to be the case again this year. There's going to be a lot of new people, and a lot of them might be watching this video. So I wanted to kind of give each of us one tip. Or, you know, just tip about Joe Nall. And mine would be, don't leave when the sun sets. If you're getting hungry, get some food, but come back if you leave, and make sure you're there for the nighttime activities, because there's lots of, you know, night flying on all the lines. But you really want to make your way down to the 3D line, because there is some amazing nighttime 3D shows that are put on at that flight line, and you do not want to miss it.
I'm going to be boring, but I'm going to give you the best tip that you're going to get for Joe Nall. This might be the first hot show of the year for you. This might be the first show you've gone to since winter went away, and we literally had no spring. It went from 37 to 87 overnight here. And my tip is, if you're walking or moving, make sure you have a bottle of water in your hand. So on your way every morning, grab your ice and grab your bottle of water. Stay hydrated, because if you don't, it could ruin your whole event. And maybe I've knocked myself out a week after Joe Nall by not hydrating properly. So hydrate.
Good advice. I would second that 100%.
But yeah, do you have a third input, Trent? What's your favorite thing to do at Joe Nall?
Oh, I tell you what, I really like what Jason said. I love to go down to the 3D Inn after dark. There is some wonderful flying and a really a great show down there after dark. So if you're coming to the Joe Nall and you can't stay on site camping or whatever, and you're going back to the hotel, I would encourage you to stay out here a night after dark and see some of the after hours activities, because it really is a lot of neat stuff to see. And then in addition to the flight show itself, you know, there's a great hangar here at Triple Tree with some really classic, unique airplanes in there. There's a couple of new ones that are in there from last year that folks haven't seen. So take some time and go through the hangar. There's a lot of interesting stuff on the wall, photographs and so forth to see. Then the Bob Shaw Learning Center's here, and they've got some flight simulators in there. So if you want to get a break from the heat, come over to the Learning Center and fly some simulators in the air condition. So that's another good way to take a break from the outside activities. And some great food vendors, you know, at all the lines. Electric Line's going to have a food vendor as well this year. So anywhere you're at, you should be able to get access to food, water, and you know, some really much needed nourishment on a hot day like that.
I'll tell y'all a secret you might not know.
Yes.
If you want to see some DLG flying right before the sun goes down, right after they close the main line, sometimes you'll see some folks, they'll either come out or they'll be over on the side of the electric line. And you'll also see Jason Cole, who almost always breaks out a paraglider, a RC paraglider, on the left side of the electric line. And you do that almost every night for like the last 3 years, right, Jason?
Yeah, that's my spot. As long as it's not, I mean, it's been growing every year, so it's becoming more and more crowded, I think. But yeah, it's just kind of after hours flying once we've done our work for the day for the most part. And it's just like time to take a break and fly for a minute and enjoy the, you know, the sun going down at Joe Nall. It's always a special time. So I look forward to getting out to DLG. I'll bring it this year and a couple paragliders, and yeah, we'll go have some fun for sure.
Steve in the live chat says, who's the guest? And I'll say it again. Trent, your last name is Wilhelm?
Wilhelm. Yes, that's correct. I'm just from over in North Carolina, so I'm relatively close to Triple Tree. So I've been coming for many years, and I've always enjoyed it. And it's a great event. So
you drove down last night and you'll stay all week?
I actually was down here Tuesday. So we've been doing a lot of work, getting ready. Matter of fact, we had a bunch of sod we put down at the new building today. So
Nice.
If you're here early, you do a lot of work, but it's all fun, and it's all for a good cause. So I was able to get some extra time off, and I've been spending it down here doing some work before the event.
Another thing I would suggest that I do that I'm probably going to go do here after this podcast is I run down and get myself a ton of the energy bars, the peanut butter. Don't get the chocolate one because it'll melt in your truck.
That's right.
I also usually some almonds, and I leave those in the truck because what will happen, at least to me, is I'll get running and gunning, and somebody will say, Jim T, you got to go here. Jim T, we're going to do this. Hey, an airplane crashed. And you'll look up, and after in the morning, I eat 2 sausage biscuits, a hash brown, a large Dr. Pepper. That'll get me to about noon. And then I start eating the good food, which keeps me from, like, if I eat, one year all I ate was sausages. And don't do that. That was terrible. So now I eat these energy bars, and they keep me running, and I don't have to stop. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and it'll get me all the way through the day until I hit McDonald's again in the morning. Plus, P.S., this is a pro tip. You can buy ice at McDonald's for $1 a bag. So just something for y'all that are driving in each morning.
Good
Jason,
point.
you got a pro tip, don't you, Jason?
What's the pro tip? We talking the little anti-monkey butt powder?
Well, there you go. Pro tip number 2. Trent, one day I was at a show, and Jason and I, we worked together. Then we were at different companies, and he came walking up kind of like a cowboy, a little bit like John Wayne, you know. I said, I know what's wrong with you.
Right. That's right.
And so from then on, monkey butt has been something that you always take to a show. We have our own. We don't share with people.
This is very true. You got to have your own bottle, but it is important to stay dry.
That was pre-golf cart days. Golf carts solved a little bit of that problem.
Yeah, but it is hot. A lot of walking.
Who's that, Trent?
Mike Letourneau just walked in.
Tell him to stick his head in here. Hey, everyone. Mike Letourneau, a Triple Tree bigwig. Hey, Mike.
With my sweaty head.
Hey.
Mike's been busy like everybody else here this week. He's getting all of our vendors set up. In different stations, and we have a real good selection of vendors this year. So all your folks that are coming down, there'll be plenty of opportunity just for spending money if you'd like to buy some stuff while you're at Triple Tree right from the vendors.
Now, I know
there's great deals always, and
always
lots of good stuff, and you can pick it up right there, free shipping, get your stuff, and have it. So,
and we have Vendor Row, of course, which was expanded. Now, I'm spacing out. Do we still have vendors on the main line that we kind of changed that up last year?
Yeah. Matter of fact, Mike's here. I can let him speak to it, but we do have vendors in some different areas. We got kind of the traditional vendor row, which is, over kind of where the hangar in front of the bathhouse on the main line. Then there's also some vendors behind the main line that they call it Show Central. So that's up on the main line. And then there's a few vendors down on the 3D end, like there traditionally is. And Mike, I believe there's a couple guys on the electric line. Are they vendors, or is it just?
We've got. We've kind of gone back to our old traditional Show Central setup. A lot more vendors at Show Central this year. Some changes, of course. The industry's seen some changes lately. But we've got 7, I think, vendors at the E line, and they've got big displays going to be in the building. And a few vendors still down at 3D, so they're kind of all over.
Mike, you might remember at the electric line, guys, there was a hangar built or a building, kind of a hangar type building that they store the big lawnmowers in.
Right.
So that's been cleared out, and they're using that for vendors on the electric line. So they'll have a nice dedicated covered area for vendors on the electric line, which I'm sure they'll appreciate.
Mike, you look a little more svelte. Have you been working out?
No working out, just starvation.
All right. Well, one thing I wanted to make sure I went over was that Triple Tree used to be the home place of Mr. Pat, but now Triple Tree belongs to all of us. And so it's up to us to go to shows like this and give back to Triple Tree and also donate. One thing I wanted to say is that RCGroups has an anonymous member, and each year he does a match of donations. And so this year we're matching up to 2,500 in donations from members, which there's a story on the homepage of FlyingGiants.com. You can go check that out. Trent, can you talk to us a little bit about if they wanted to donate while they were down there, what they might do?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, there's a on the website, there's a donation they can do. And again, that's a 501c. So it's a complete tax-free type of donation. So you could do that on the website, or while you're here at Triple Tree, you can make a donation. You can do that by check or however you'd like to do that. And there's several folks here that can help you out with that. And we would surely welcome any donation, no matter what the size, because all of those dollars go to a good cause. And I can tell you from being around here personally, they spend that money very, very cautiously. They can make a dollar go a long way here.
There's a lot of grass to mow down there.
Grass to mow. Yeah, they've been mowing all week down here. Some guys have been on mowers. I talked to a guy yesterday that was on a mower, I think started at 8 o'clock and didn't get off till 4 that evening. So a lot of time sitting on a mower at Triple Tree.
I'd like to interview that guy and find out if he's just thinking about life or listening to a podcast or something.
He had some headphones on. I know he was listening to something on there.
Right. Well, can either one of y'all talk on ACE, the Aviation Centered Education?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, it's yeah.
Mike probably knows a little more about that than I do, but so I'll let him go. But it's a great program for the youth, and I think we're even going to have some of those youth doing a little flying demo out here this weekend. Some of the ones that have kind of gone through the program. So you guys that'll hear, you'll get to see them firsthand, and they're all really, really nice young men and women.
Yeah, the idea is we've lamented here for a long time about the dwindling youth. And we've done everything we can, from big discounts for youth at Joe Nall to
youth masters,
and youth camp and centered events. And we've just realized that if we're going to have a upcoming aviation oriented youth, we're going to have to homegrown.
Gotcha.
So we've started the ACE program. And it's, I think it's 8 years and up. Most of them are in the 10-year range and up. But we bring them in. They absolutely go through ground school. They learn aerodynamic basics and what's going on. We take them, of course, through the simulators. And then we also provide them with an airplane and a radio to go out and start learning to fly. We take them obviously all the way up through soloing, and then they'll be able to move on to an apprentice or something a little more elaborate. As they get a little older, and the ones that really love it and stick around, we're then going to, if they want, we're going to stick their butts in a 172 and teach them how to fly.
Nice.
And take them up through solo. Also in full scale, and we've got a 172 that's going to be donated to Triple Tree for that purpose.
Wow! And
the idea, like I said, is to homegrown our own enthusiasts.
Right, and create exposure for kids out there.
Right. Now we have all kinds of other programs. We still have the youth events. We have the
Youth Masters is still a very popular event. That's in July. So there's other youth events, but that ACE program has really been popular.
We also work with the public school system here. We run, I guess we've run like 300 day trip students through Triple Tree this year. Again, trying to, and that's where some of these ACE pilots have come from, and trying to generate, and along with the scouts and what have you, we keep a lot of youth activity going.
That's great.
So Jim tells me I look like I'm 12. Does that mean I could participate in that program?
Did he say look or act?
Hey, so
that sounds really cool though.
I know your flight simulators you use down there are the real flight sims, and I've got some news that I just looked at today. The owner of Real Flight, the former owner of RCGroups, just came out with a new flight sim. It's a full-scale sim, and it's called Acro FS, and it's free. So something you guys might want to look into for a full-scale simulator over there.
Good.
We will.
You know, it'd be awesome is if you could talk JB into putting your field in the flight simulator.
Yep.
That would be good. If that was one of the field choices, is have Triple Tree as one of the choices.
I'll put a bug in an ear. I don't know what kind of sway I have these days, but
maybe you can make that happen.
All right, I'll work on it. I'll make it a pet project.
All right.
Well, everybody, we're headed down on Tuesday, Jason and I, and we're meeting up, like I say, with Mike Hines and some other folks on the ground down there. So we'll be running and gunning per usual. Keep your eyes out for the golf carts with the flags flying. We'll have our cameras out. Jason is going to be out doing specialized coverage, and I'm going to be doing what I do best, which is taking photos of people having a good time and putting it up on the internet as fast as I can. I want to thank everyone at Triple Tree, y'all, for taking your time out and talking to us, but everyone out there that makes this possible each year.
It's a lot of work. Yep.
It is. And there's a lot of folks. So that thank you is well appreciated, because there's a lot of folks here doing a lot of work.
Well, with that said, if you're going to Triple Tree and you're watching this, and I'm sure you would say it anyway, but let's all be sure to say thank you to all the folks that are out there sweating and making sure it's happening for us, because it looks like it happens all on its own, but I'm sure there's a lot of behind the scenes to make it look that way.
Well, I've always said if people realize how few people we have to put this on, they'd be shocked how we do it. So.
All right. Well, thank you guys once again for taking time out of your Triple Tree days to talk to us, and we look forward to seeing you.
All right. Thanks, Jim.
Because we got to go back to work.
See you there.
Go back to work.
All right. All right, everybody.
See you next week.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us on the podcast. I have no idea if we'll be doing a podcast Thursday next week. We always think it's a great idea, but it's almost never possible, because we'll wind up being at the lake, and we'll look down at our watches and it'll be Friday and we've forgotten that Thursday went by. Isn't that how it works, Jason?
Yeah, I don't think we'll be doing it, but we'll have a follow-up podcast the Thursday after that, where we'll tell stories and tell a tale of Joe Nall.
Show our pictures and videos if we have it and all that good stuff.
Yep.
So thank all of y'all for joining us. I heard the thing didn't go out to let the live viewers know that we were on. I'm not sure why that happened, but I appreciate all the live viewers that are on right now. And once again, if there's anything you want us to talk about in the podcast in the future, just shoot us a PM. We'd love to talk about it and learn about it, or find somebody who does. I'm Jim G. Graham, your host, RCGroups, FlyingGiants.com. We'll talk to y'all next week.